Right, we continue our religious vote series today with the Catholic vote, which we also talked about earlier in the week. But, for decades now, the Catholic vote has been a pivotal swing vote in presidential elections, with a majority backing the winner almost every time, whether Republican or Democrat. And joining us now to discuss this is former acting White House Chief of Staff, Special Envoy to Northern Ireland, and co-chair of Catholics for Trump, Mick Mulvaney. Mick, good to see you. Welcome to the show.
You forgot good friend of Sean Spicer.
No, we that was in
That's
there.
at the end.
That got cut. Yeah, I edited out. I got it. So, hi guys.
Good
Great
to see you.
All right, well, I want to show you a headline that came up today, and it's kind of ironic because Sean and I were talking about this, but it's from NBC, and it says, Election 2020, Trump's support from Catholics and evangelicals is dropping. They fault his unkindness. And Mick, like I was discussing, we talked to a lot of my friends who are Catholics or evangelicals. They undoubtedly know that the president has advanced issues that they care about, whether it's pro-life or whatever it may be. But at the same time, his style and his tone, they don't love so much. What is your advice to them?
But that's not really different than the population at large. There's a lot of folks who don't like the president's tone and his style, but are still voting for him. Keep in mind, I saw those headlines yesterday. I was traveling in Pennsylvania and Ohio for the campaign and saw that, talked about that a little bit. And what I reminded people is like, look, you don't know what that means in that headline, Catholics, et cetera. Is that a Catholic who says they're Catholic? It's a Catholic who was raised Catholic but doesn't go to church. Do they go to church once a month or twice a month? Do they live in California or do they live in, Indiana? So I think that's another one of those misleading headlines. The energy for the president is very good with the Catholic community. If anything, it's a little bit stronger than what we saw in 2016, and here's why. In 2016, basically, evangelicals and Catholics didn't know President Trump very well. That's not his background, right? That's not where he came from. He didn't come up through the religious right wing of the party. So they were a little concerned about his bona fides, perhaps, when it came to things like life. But now, after 4 years of a track record, they're 100% solid with him on the policies, which at the end of the day is how most folks are going to vote.
Mick, I think it was 2 years ago, you were the keynote speaker at the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast. But apparently you weren't available to come back again, so they got the president this time. And this is what he said when he spoke to them.
Today I am announcing that I will be signing the Born Alive executive order to ensure that all precious babies born alive, no matter their circumstances, receive the medical care that they deserve.
Mick, you and I are both Catholic. We know how the president's policies have been just what most Catholics have been fighting for, especially in terms of pro-life. He's been batting 100, batting 1,000 on this. But here's the question. When he doubles down on that, does it move the needle, or were those folks already with him?
I think it does. I think it moves the needle, and here's why. That was the president being authentic. That wasn't, even though he was probably reading that off of Stephen Miller's speech. I go back to the State of the Union in 2019. I was just the chief of staff. It's the first time I had seen a State of the Union speech written from the very beginning. And between the time we sort of finished the speech and the night of the speech, Governor Northam in Virginia had come out and said that, it was okay to deliver the babies and you keep them warm and then you kill them, right? We all remember that. The president was really profoundly moved by that. Couldn't imagine that that's really what pro-choice meant to the United States of America in the 21st century, but it is. And he actually ad-libbed at that speech that night and gave probably as much attention to the life issue as anything else during the speech, because that's really what he was feeling. And when the president speaks authentically like that to people, they know it, you can feel it, you can sort of sense it. And I think that really resonates with voters. So I actually think, yeah, it does move the needle to folks who might not know who's calling me on the phone. Is that your phone or my phone that just went off, John?
I'm going to think that's you. No one calls me anymore, Mick. No one. I mean, maybe they still call you. I've been gone longer than you. They stopped calling.
I'm not sure how the phone ringer was off, but there you go. So.
All right. Well, let me kind of juxtapose that for a second and show you how Nancy Pelosi spoke about this prayer breakfast.
And I join you in expressing dismay that National Catholic Prayer Breakfast would be honoring someone who doesn't, what would Christ do? We always say that. There's a big difference in between what Christ would do and what they're honoring this morning.
Mick, I've said this for a long time, that I don't want anyone ever discussing my religion, what I believe my relationship with God is, and I won't ever question someone's relationship with God. But the thing that's interesting is Nancy Pelosi, who doesn't have a record of ever supporting life, is out there now criticizing the National Catholic Prayer Breakfast for honoring President Trump and all the policies that he's implemented in all the ways that he has stood up for the unborn. It's ironic to me that you've got a Catholic leader, Speaker of the House, and a Catholic presidential candidate in Joe Biden who don't stand for the key tenets of the church and yet want to go out there and wave the faith around.
Yeah, my guess is that Nancy was probably one of those Catholics who was pulled in that NBC headline that you guys showed, and Joe may have been as well. I'm with you, Sean. I tried not to make a big deal of it when I was in Congress. I have friends of mine who are Democrats. I know that sounds contrived, but it's true. We were actually socially friendly, and I could never understand why there was only, I think, 1 or 2 Democrats in the pro-life caucus. I think it was Dan Lipinski and maybe Colin Peterson, maybe Henry Cuellar back then as well. But it was just bizarre to me that you could hold yourself out. Look, I'm okay. I'm not big in going out and thumping your chest and saying, "Oh, vote for me. I'm a Roman Catholic." You can't do that in the South anyway. But if you're going to go on TV and say, "I'm Nancy Pelosi and I'm a devout Roman Catholic and I pray all the time and I'm praying for the president," all this, you probably should follow the church a little bit. I mean, if you're going to vary from the church, you should probably do it privately, not publicly. Yeah. So again, I think Nancy, by the same token, being very authentic in what she just said. People know that's where Nancy is. She's just like that. She's a mean-spirited person, and she will sort of flaunt her religion in ways that makes folks uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, Nick, I can tell by the phone and the dings, you are still very, very important. A lot of people are trying to get in touch with you. I appreciate you sharing part of your Friday with us, and I hope you have a restful weekend and can return some of those calls and emails that you're getting.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you lose, of course, when you're no longer chief of staff or director of OMB or anything is that no one runs the tech for you, and I'm not really sure how to turn off all these things.
Come on, special envoy. You got to get some people.
I turned my phone off.
Get you
the
some
phone
help.
is actually off. This phone is off.
Good to see you, Mick.
All right. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
All right, well, some good news for you on a Friday. Some of the most successful people in the world have revealed the leadership skills that have propelled them to the top. And it's all in a new book crafted by billionaire businessman and philanthropist David Rubenstein. He's got some tips to share with you when we come back.